So yeah, we're going to go over this whole packet, and how many of y'all have already signed up for the pitch competition? Just right now?
Yeah.
Okay. So the first thing we're going to start off is obviously the prices. There's been some changes for the prices, for the better, not for the worse. So first place winner gets $1,000. Second place winner gets $500. Third place gets $250. Crowd favorite gets $100. But what is added now for prices is that the first, second, and third place winners are actually going to get a whole year membership subscription for Geekdom. And does everyone know what Geekdom is? So Geekdom is a place downtown. It's pretty much a collaboration space where you could go in there and meet like entrepreneurial people in there. In Geekdom, there's probably I don't know what he said, but like 50 to 60 small startup businesses, and they all kind of interact with another, have events with one another, and that's a place where you go build startups, generate ideas, brainstorms. It's like it emphasizes creating entrepreneurial ventures here in San Antonio. So it's usually they charge $50 a month, so it's a really good deal. It adds like and for students it's $25 a month. So technically, it's adding like another $300 to your price pool, So it's actually really, really awesome that they provided that. Next, we'll go to the guidelines. So only 1% per pitch, right? That doesn't mean that this is your individual project, but rather that if you're in a team of people and y'all are working in that idea, only one of y'all can come up and present. So I would suggest picking whoever the best oral, picking the best speaker to actually present, the pitch. Next thing is that no reading materials are allowed on stage. So you can't have any, note cards, you can't have any of that. Just whatever it is that you remembered. No products or visuals are allowed on stage. So you can't have like a, cardboard box or like, a cup or whatever prototype is. Can't have any of that. Topics must be appropriate. Obviously, we don't want to be talking about, unethical or illegal products or anything like that. So try to keep it appropriate. 90 seconds is the maximum allowed. Yeah. 90 seconds is the maximum time allowed. And lastly, all of y'all have to give one PowerPoint slide and send it to us, right? So the way it's going to work is we'll say your name. Your PowerPoint is going to be displayed on the in front of the audience, and then you do your pitch, and then you finish your pitch, and so you have access to one PowerPoint slide, and you can do whatever it is that you want. One slide, not 5, 6, one slide, and you can have that's the only visual, that's the only thing that you could show the audience and the judges, whatever it is that you want to do. So now going on to the important dates. So the workshop is what we're doing right now. It's what's happening right now. The sign-up deadline, if you haven't signed up, it's on the 10th, which is, I don't know what day it is, but at 11:59 p.m., you have to register by then. If not, then you'll probably not be a part of the competition. The pre-screening process. So what is the pre-screening process? Assuming that there's only 20 competitors that are actually going to do the pitch. Assuming that there's more than 20 individuals who register, then we will have to do a pre-screening process, which means that you would have to come in here or send us a YouTube video or something like that and show us a rough draft of what your pitch is. And we will evaluate the top 20 out of all those, all the people who actually send us that. So keep that in mind and keep it in your calendars. The top 20 confirmation, right? So will be, yes.
About the pre-screening, if there's number of people who are attending is less than 20, then there won't be pre-screening?
Assuming that there's 20 people or less, then there's no pre-screening process.
How do we get to know about that?
Yes, so right after the deadline, we will send y'all an email that says okay, we have more than 20 registered, so now y'all have to either, y'all will have a, yeah, exactly. So, assuming that there is more than 20 and we do the pre-screening process on the November of 18th, which is 2 days before the competition, you will get a confirmation that says you have been selected to be a part of the top 20 individuals. and that gives you 2 days to like really hammer out the details of your pitch and whatever it is that you have to do. The competition day is going to be November the 20th. The time is going to be from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. So I don't know if y'all gotta navigate around your classes or try to figure out.
What day of the week is that?
That's on a Friday. So I mean, that's figure out what you gotta do. Free up your time from 2 to 4.
We have to work, as we can get that time off,
Yeah.
at least the time that you're presenting.
And the location is going to be at the UC at the Rotama room. And do y'all know what room that is?
Mhm.
That's where they host the the movie nights. That room. So the capacity is 350 people. So we expect to have like a pretty big audience there. So be prepared for that. Speak in front of people. Try to get used to speaking in front of people. We'll go on to the agenda. So here's exactly how the agenda is going to be. From 2 to 2:10. It's going to be an overview of who we are as CEO, the Collegiate Entrepreneurs Organization, and an overview of the pitch competition, which is kind of what we're doing right now. From 2:10 to 2:20, we will introduce the judges. We have 5 judges that have already confirmed for this event. After that, it's going to take about an hour to have all 20 participants, say their pitches, and then after that time slot, we'll calculate the scores, and then we'll have a small networking event where you can get to talk to the actual judges and try to see where you can take your step to your pitch to the next level if this is something that you're actively trying to do. So how's the format of the actual competition? The way it's going to work is that you're going to be sitting in a designated location, right? The 20 competitors, right? So the MC is going to be like, now we introduce Bob, right? So Bob shows up, like he goes into the auditorium, his PowerPoint is displayed, he gets the mic, he says his pitch in 90 seconds, and then once he finishes his pitch, the judges are able to ask Bob one question about his pitch. And it's not going to be like super complicated questions. It's not going to be like, what's your cost structure 3 years from now, X, Y, and Z. No, it's just going to be very generic stuff about your pitch. Like, what would you say is your biggest competitor? Or what would you say is, what is another way that you can make revenue out of this pitch? It's very simple, not very financially intensive, or not something that you have to do thousands and thousands of hours of research, So just keep that in mind.
Does
Yes.
each judge get to ask a question?
No, just one judge per participant. Yeah, and once you answer that question, then you'll be done, and then the next person will come up and do the exact same thing. So now what we're going to do is talk about CEO a little, talk about why a pitch competition, why having a pitch is pretty important, and the judging rubric, which is the most important thing. Jared, you could get a packet over there. So first, we are CEO. We're the Collegiate Entrepreneurs Organization. We've been hosting the pitch competition for 3 semesters now. It's been I'd say it's been pretty successful. So I'd like to thank all of y'all for actually participating in it. So I appreciate it. So what we do as the Collegiate Entrepreneurs Organization, we have our mission statement here is to help individuals grow and prosper their entrepreneurial spirit. CEO provides student entrepreneurs with opportunities, networking, honing their business skills to develop their ideas into tangible results. And this is why we're so adamant in doing the pitch competition, because we all have like $1 million ideas, or we've all had ideas of like, an amazing product or service. But what we try to do in here is to, make that tangible, whether it is to help you, guide you, create your own app or something, or get you resources to take you to the next level. So if any of y'all are interested in joining our organization, then you can talk to any of the officers after this is over. So what is in the elevator pitch? I have a little simulation here. So you just bumped into a former client at the airport, right? After exchanging pleasantries, he asks you what your new company does, right? You open your mouth and then you pause. Where do you start, right? Like then as you try to organize your thoughts, his flight is called and he just leaves and you didn't really tell him anything, right? Well, that's why a pitch is important, because if you were better prepared, you should you're sure that he'd stay longer enough to schedule a meeting or to create that partnership or create that bond to actually like take your pitch to the next level. That's why a pitch is important. And so what is an elevator pitch, right? Elevator. So it's a short way to say whatever who you are, who your organization is, who your product is, who your service is, right? It's something concise, precise, small that you kind of do. So it is something that sparks interest about what you are, what your organization does, etc. So I think I got a general idea of what that is. So let's go to the judging rubric, which is the biggest, most important thing about this competition, right? Because that's what the judges are going to evaluate you on. So the first thing is explain the problem to be solved in details, right? So there's a little tagline, student gives multiple examples or many details on how people encounter X problem. So whenever you're thinking about your pitch, that's one of the most fundamental things you have to answer. In the current state of events, in the way that people are currently doing things, what problem do they encounter, right? What is the current state? Yeah. So what is a problem? A question or matter involving doubt, uncertainty, or difficulty, right? So whether it just takes longer to do, whether they can't do the job that's required, like you have to really think in detail, like what is it that they're experiencing that is flawed in a certain way, right? So I have a pretty good example. I use something very universal that we all know about, right? A CD player. Everybody has had one at one point, and then it got shifted to MP3 players. So help me out here. What were the problems? When CD players were the number one thing and everyone had CD players, what were the problems that a CD player had? Anyone? Yeah.
You put it in your pocket and you're walking around, it would skip.
Skip. Exactly. I hated that. Anything else?
Couldn't hold a lot of songs.
Couldn't hold a lot of songs.
Oh, you had to buy batteries.
Had to buy batteries, right? And there's many more, like hold a limited amount of music. The device was huge, not that portable, honestly. Like it really wasn't. The CD quality was bad compared to like having the vinyl and having the other forms of music. The CDs would scratch and the music would be unplayable. The aesthetic appeal of the actual CD player was ugly compared to a nice thin iPod. You would have to constantly switch batteries. The player itself would scratch the music sometimes, kind of what you said, it would skip and scratch the CD. So at the time, in the 90s and the early 2000s, that was seen as revolutionary. The CD player was top-notch. Everybody bought a CD player. But there were still flaws of that current solution, and that's how the world exists now. So you could even the iPod itself, there's certain flaws of the iPod. Even though it is the most universal way that we all listen to music, there's ways to improve it, right? That's what I'm trying to get across. So the introduction of the MP3 player was so disruptive that it completely revolutionized the way that we listen to music, right? So whenever you are presenting your speech, make sure to let the audience know, conceptualize or visualize that the person, place, or thing that you're talking about can be done more effectively, more efficiently, and in a better manner. Any questions on that part? No? Cool. Next thing. Show how the idea is better than the current solution, kind of what we already talked about. Student describes that the current solution describes the current solution and demonstrate why your idea, why your product, why your solution, why your process, whatever it is that you're doing, is better than that solution, than the status quo, than the way that we currently do things, right? So students describe, even solutions themselves have problems, right? So I'm going to use Rate My Professor as a example, right? So before Rate My Professor, how did y'all choose professors? Y'all just kind of chose them, right? Like y'all didn't have no criteria to determine what a good professor was. Word of mouth, exactly. And then Rate My Professor came along, and now we get to see like ratings, we get to see all of that, right? But what is flawed about Rate My Professor? Do y'all see any flaws of?
Doesn't have all the professors and requires a user to input the review about it.
Exactly. Anything else?
You know if the person's being honest or if their perception of it is just twisted.
Exactly. Exactly, and that's what I'm trying to get for. Like, also the rating criteria is flawed, right? They measure it by 3 methods. They measure it by helpfulness, clarity, and easiness, right? That's how Ray, my professor, does its evaluations, right? But is that literally the best method to figure out what a good educator is? I really don't think so. I think that if there was a competitor from Ray, my professor, that actually had credible sources that determine what a good educator is, whether it is, like their educational paradigm, whether it is their framework, whether it is their oral presentation, how helpful they are, the communication skills, the type of projects they have. If there was a bigger criteria, would it be better than Ray, my professor? I'd say so. I personally think so. But what I'm trying to get at is that even though Ray, my professor, is universally used, there's still flaws. So every time you demonstrate what your idea is, make sure to be able to differentiate yourselves from the current solution. And there's flaws. So if y'all could go to the next page. And when you don't differentiate yourself, then you make a big mistake, because the second that you don't distinguish your product from theirs, then you're seen as a knockoff product of Ray, my professor. Then you're seen as a legitimate, kind of like a copycat rather than a more innovative way to solve that problem, right? So make sure whenever you're showing who your competition is to differentiate yourselves. Point out the flaws that they have and then say why you solve those flaws, rather than just saying like we are, the same thing as Uber, but different, So approach it that way. Any questions on that? Next thing, introduce the idea in a memorable way. Students offer a creative anecdote or give a striking example that sticks in the judge's mind. It's all about getting people's attention. It's all about making sure that the judges are listening to your 90-second speech and not like thinking about something else. You want to have a really good hook and bring them in and, take them to a 90-second journey of like euphoria or something. But there's a couple ways you could do that. Whether it is asking a rhetorical question, like, have you ever encountered X problem? I have. This is why we should do X, Y, and Z, right? Like, you hook them immediately. Or whether it is a story, like, X happened to me and that was really bad, something. Another way is a quotation. I think quotation is very powerful if you have some form, which kind of goes to statistic. If you have something that shows the audience why the problem is so bad. Did you know that 60% of all trash bags actually go to landfills, and it doesn't deconstruct in the next 2,000 years? That's pretty bad. Just a quotation or some form of statistic that catches the judges and audience's attention. So you'll always want to have that hook. Another way is through humor, which is something that I do whenever I was doing pitches. Like, my name is Alexis Morales. That's my actual name. But every time I would do a pitch, I would be like, hello, my name is Armando Alejandro Antonio Argumedo Jose Manuel Morales de la Cruz III, and everybody was like, what the hell, like, what's his name? And it actually gets people hooked, and it gets people to listen to what you're going to say. So you gotta figure out your way of how you're going to hook people. Expert opinion, who are you? You're just kind of a college student, right? But if you had an expert opinion on some person who's very knowledgeable on your industry, and if you were able to quote them or, just quote them, then it gives your product more legitimacy, more credibility of what it is that you do, So that's another way to approach it. And obviously, a testimony or a success story. If you already have this product running, if it's more than just an idea and you already have testimonies, then bring that up. Say, my little sister used this product and now the way she does X, Y, and Z is better than it always was. And it gets people hooked. So keep that in mind. Any questions on that portion of the judging criteria? No? Cool. Next thing, present idea with passion. Students have an enthusiastic, upbeat delivery and not being monotone. So the tone of your voice is really important in the way that the judges and the audience perceive your product or your message, right? If you are monotone, if you are presenting the problem by saying what's bad? Global warming. That's pretty goddamn bad, everyone's gonna be like, okay, global warming's bad, thanks. But if you come in there with urgency, with passion, with having priority on that problem, then the way the judges and audience perceive it it's better. So if you say God, what's bad? We're going to die in 30 seconds because global warming is going to kill us all, and obviously not that far, but have some form of passion, and it gives the judges a sense of urgency. It gets them like, yes, this is a problem. Yes, we should fix it. Tell me how we should fix it, right? So don't be monotone. Like approach it. Have some form of passion is what I'm trying to get at. Questions on any of that? Yep, that's what I have to say about that. So the next thing is idea could have a large disruptive impact on society, right? The idea could dramatically change everyday life in the target market or even in all of society. So don't think about this as you having the new Facebook or you having the new iPad or you like having the new Uber. Like you're not changing the world, right, with your product or whatever your idea is. Maybe you are, but I doubt it. Just describe how you could like change the way, like whoever your target market, just describe how you could change their lives, right? Whether it is like you create a new tool for plumbers and now all the plumbers, they save like 2 hours of time every single day of work, or just describe how you change or innovate whatever it is that you're trying to do and how that affects the people that is associated with that product or service. Any questions on that? No? Cool. And actually, I forgot. There's one more judging criteria that's not here. But what it is a student shows the student's answer is knowledgeable and informative, right? So, like I said, that the judge is going to ask you one question, right? They're going to base their criteria on that answer as well. So if you don't know that answer, then it's really going to affect the way that they grade you. So make sure that you kind of have a good understanding of what your product or your service is. And they'll ask you a simple question, and if you answer it well, thorough, informative, knowledgeable, then you should be okay. Any questions on that portion? And the simulation is that the judge determines, which is invest venture capital in this idea. The judge determines if he or she would give or invest any of his or her money, if they could, to help move the idea forward. The judging rubric is based on 1 to 5. 1 being they wouldn't invest anything, 5 being that they would invest as much as they could towards your product, service, and idea. And so there's 5 judges, right? And all 5 of them would choose 1 to 5, and then we calculate the average. That average is going to be your final score, and those final scores are compared to the other 19 participants, and whoever has the highest would win the competition, right? In terms, I highly doubt that a tiebreaker would exist, a tie would exist, but if that does happen, then we'll have to figure out another way to approach it. Maybe a second round of questioning would probably happen, assuming that a tiebreaker exists for first, second, or third place. But I highly doubt that would happen, right? So we have a checklist, and these are the things that you should, whenever you're practicing your pitch, these are the number 1 things that you should think about. 1, what is the problem? 2, what's your solution? 3, how large is your market? 4, what makes you, your product, your service, whatever it is that you do, so special? What's that secret sauce, And 5, how exactly would you achieve sales? So whenever you're doing your pitches from now until the competition, make sure that you have all those answered, because the judges are going to look at that and figure out and correlate it to the actual judging rubric and get to decide who has the best pitch. That should be it. Couple other remarks is if you want to do your pre-screening process right now, just to get it out of the way, then we could record you now, and we could have that on file. So if we do have more than 20 contestants, you're already pretty much done. If other than that, I don't have anything else. Would y'all want to watch like some of the pitches that occurred maybe last semester, or some of the fun pitches that I've seen?
Yeah.
All right, we'll do that.
I have a question.
What's up?
At any point, do you like give your offer in equity, like how Shark Tank does it, where you give your offer in equity in return for money, or
Currently, that doesn't exist. the criteria is only based on like how your thorough understanding of the idea.
Is any investing actually done?
The individuals there could guide you. Okay, so these are the 5 judges.
They decide if they wanna invest in your idea. So it's
The
kinda like-
simulation is that they would invite, but can they take it? What you're asking is like, can they tangibly help you take that
Yeah.
idea to the next level? These 5 judges are actually pretty legitimate, credible people. One, we have Christopher Herring, who is the chairman of the TAACC, which is the Texas Association of African American Chamber of Commerce. So he has like a huge network that he could help you, take your idea to the next step. The second person is Ryan, who is the director, I guess, of Cafe Commerce. So you should look up Cafe Commerce and what they do, because they literally do what we do, like pitch competitions. They talk about startups. They do everything what we do at a greater extent. The next person is Drew. I would label him like a serial entrepreneur. He has done multiple startups. He has done multiple pitch competitions, and he's gone through the whole experience, but legitimately gotten like $12 million in funding. So he's actually going to be here as a judge. So if there's one person to talk to about how to take your idea to the next level, is him, because he's already done it. The fourth individual is Chris Delgado, who's actually a consultant for the Small Business Development Center. So he's had like years and years of experience on consulting businesses on how to get a better revenue stream, how to be more profitable, how to be more successful. And the fifth individual is what am I missing? Tommy McNish, who's actually the business developer at Geekdom. So he could actually guide you or get you to network with all the startups that actually exist at the Geekdom network. He's actually a really, really good resource to have and to ask him about, whatever your product idea or service is. So the judges could definitely help you take your product or your service to the next level. Any other questions that I could answer?
But I'm not understanding. Do they give you money, for you to have your idea, or would they just give you guidance? That's what I'm trying to understand.
Okay, so the pitch competition
Will they
is
say here's this certain amount of money in exchange for this?
the $1,000 is going to be given to you directly
Oh, for your idea.
for whatever it is
Oh.
that you want to do that $1,000 for. Whatever that the $1,000, $500 and $250 grand prices, you could do that for whatever it is that you want to do with it, right? We can't hold it against you to use it for your idea, So
You would like you to,
But to
you don't
me,
want
it doesn't seem like a pitch competition if no one is investing.
right. I mean, the $1,000 would technically be an investment. It is up to you
I'm
in
probably
order
just
to
gonna
invest
spend
that.
that on Chipotle. I don't know.
Well, that's
it's small, but it's a
I
good
know.
start.
All right.
For most people,
I thought
90
they
seconds
invested.
for
It makes no
$1,000
sense
is
to
a lot.
me.
We'll give them a business plan with financial forecast, and then they'll invest in you.
yeah.
They won't invest
Okay,
in
so
your
that
idea.
happens after if they really like you.
Yeah,
and like
yeah,
you.
that's something that you have to,
I mean, it's kind of
Okay.
like you're pitching
Oh.
something that you really, really want out there, but you haven't planned for it. It's just an idea now. And then
Okay.
after you're like, oh, maybe I want to do this after the pitch competition. Most people, after the pitch competition, most people actually want to pursue their ideas. So they'll go forward and then they'll do the business plan.
Oh,
This is
I
a whole
get that.
process.
I
They'll
totally
do
get
this on the wall, this model canvas, and then they'll do the business plan, and it's a whole process. But
Perfect.
what you're doing at the pitch competitions is the idea.
Okay, I got you.
Any other questions? No. Y'all still want to watch a couple of pitches?
Mhm.
Cool. Let's do that. Yes.
Are you gonna